We've been long told that the transition to renewable energy has the overwhelming support of the public, and that no one wants new coal or nuclear power plants. But that claim, in this contrast in support between the two, has been very hard to verify or prove, because until recently, wind and solar farms did not have to go through the usual approvals process, so there really was no opportunity for a given community to fully express how they actually felt about a new wind or solar farm going up in their area. But as I reported on at the time, all of that changed earlier this year in Queensland. In February of this year, the new state premier, David Crisafulli, introduced amended planning regulations for wind farms. All this amendment really did was make wind farms subject to the same impact assessments and community feedback as every other proposed big build always has been. But in so doing, he revealed the lie of this public support, so-called, for wind and solar. Fast forward to only a few months, and now a massive 88-turbine wind farm in Moonlight Range north of Rockhampton has been cancelled due to 85% community opposition. Surprise, surprise, it turns out that when you actually ask people if they want these eyesores in their local area, they don't. But let's not pop the champagne just yet, because in Queensland, as in New Zealand and elsewhere, we are seeing some fantastic steps in the right direction, but we're not yet seeing a complete rejection of the renewables fantasy, and nor are we yet seeing enough action towards building real alternatives, i.e. brand new coal and gas power plants. If all we do is reject renewables, but we don't also get busy building reliables so that we can keep the lights on, then our future is looking dark, if you'll pardon the pun. My name's Topher This is the Topher Project, and I help busy people like you to keep up with the world as it changes around us. Now, I am 100% viewer supported, and when I talk about topics like renewables, YouTube tends to limit my reach or demonetize my videos. So I rely on you guys to help me to keep doing what I do full time. So head over to goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com and grab copies of my books, my DVDs, my merch, including this updated Good People Break Bad Laws design with the print on the back. I think it's pretty cool. But there's also the classic Good People design with the print on the front. And of course, they're all available in black or white, t-shirt or hoodie, and there's a bunch of other designs as well. And if you'd rather just support me directly and help me to keep doing my work, then head to topherfield.net and find the Buy Me a Coffee button there. I really appreciate your support. Okay, so these changes to Queensland's planning processes for wind farms are having exactly the effect that I predicted, i.e. they're causing the community's true feelings to be seen and heard, and they're causing some of these projects to be cancelled, but not always for the right reasons. And it also must be said that not all of these projects are being cancelled. For example, some of the projects that are being changed or modified or indeed cancelled are being cancelled because of their impact on niche species that exist in some single valley somewhere or location. It's kind of this, lesser spotted newt kind of argument. And even though I'm very happy to see a wind farm being cancelled, I'm not necessarily happy to keep laying down more precedents that place some slight variation on a well-established species above human flourishing. But I'm going to put that aside for a second, because we also need to talk about the fact that not all projects are being cancelled. For example, the Bungabbon wind farm, which was paused in January for further community consultation, has since been approved in March this year. The Wangalee wind farm was paused at the same time as the Bungabbon one was, and then approved in April of this year. And then there's others, such as the Theodore wind farm, that appears to be in limbo, but it may yet be approved. So Queensland's changes to their planning approvals are by no means a ban on new wind farms. It just ensures that they have to pass through the same criteria as other projects. And if they pass, they still get approved. Now, I feel a bit conflicted about this, but honestly, that is as it should be. I don't want the government to treat different types of energy projects differently for ideological reasons. I want a level playing field in energy production, just as I do in every area of the economy and indeed life. But the trouble here is that even though wind farms may now be on a similar footing when it comes to Queensland's planning approvals, they still benefit enormously from subsidies and preferential treatment federally in the energy market. which means that we're still not building enough of the good stuff, the baseload, reliable, cheap energy that we need, because all of the incentives are in the direction of building wind farms, whether they're actually the best idea or not. I'll give you some examples. We have, for example, the Clean Energy Finance Corporation, which provides preferential loans on good terms to renewable energy-related projects at taxpayers' risk. We also have the Capacity Investment Scheme, which is designed to de-risk investments in renewables, which again is just a fancy way of saying that we, the taxpayers, are carrying those risks now. Risks to the tune of $22 billion in last year's budget alone. Then there's the large-scale renewable energy target with the associated large-scale generation certificates which energy retailers buy in order to comply with the federal government's renewable energy target of 41,000 gigawatt hours per annum, with $29 billion having been spent on these certificates so far and climbing fast. And all of that spending ends up either on the national debt, racking up our credit card for nothing, or it all goes on top of our energy prices, which is why the promised energy relief that Anthony Albanese campaigned on when he was first elected has been, well, non-existent, and our power prices have in fact gone up since then. So whilst I applaud the Crisafulli government for changing the planning laws so that wind farms have to pass through a normal approval process, and whilst I applaud the community which through its feedback and opposition put an end to the proposed Moonlight Ridge eyesore, do not for a moment allow yourself to think that renewable energy is now on a level playing field with fossil fuels, or that we're about to see energy prices drop or reliability improve. Far from it. Because stopping the wrong energy sources is great, but it just creates the next problem. See, saying no to wind farms is not the same thing as saying yes to new coal and gas plants. And whilst there has been some expansion to Queensland coal mines approved in 2024, courtesy of the federal government, the fact is, we're exporting a lot of that coal instead of burning it here for our own cheap, reliable electricity. So whilst we are seeing some baby steps in the right direction, and yes, globally the tide is definitely turning on net zero, we, here in Australia, are nowhere near the Trump-style drill baby drill policy settings that are going to give them the cheapest electricity in the world. And whilst I think it's appropriate to acknowledge the baby steps that we are taking in the right direction, it's equally important to keep the pressure on and keep pointing out the fact that without new fossil fuel-powered baseload power generation fast, we are in serious trouble. But also, and let me argue both sides of this one, you'll never take big steps if you don't take the baby steps first. And of all of the Australian states, Queensland is showing the most promise, the most common sense, the most acknowledgement of reality, even if that still falls short of a full return to sanity. It is no coincidence that Queensland has given us some truly excellent senators, including Senator Rennick, who unfortunately does not appear to have been re-elected, although the final results are not in, Senator Roberts, who looks likely to get in again, but again, not for certain, and Senator Matt Canavan, who I just interviewed yesterday, and you'll find that on my YouTube channel. Now, all three of these men and so many other Queensland senators have, as members of different parties, been outspoken advocates for a full return to sanity for coal and gas and fracking and a rejection of the madness of renewables. And I applaud their efforts, baby steps though they may be. And yes, this is a slow and painful process. And yes, things are probably going to get worse here in Australia before they get better. We seem to be slow learners down here on the bottom of the world. But we need to balance two important public responses to these small, promising signs that we see. We need to reward those baby steps towards sanity, but simultaneously demand much, much more. You see, the climate cult, they're not afraid to be vocal about what they demand, even though if they got what they demanded, it would kill people, literally. Net zero by 2035, that was one of their early targets. That would have only been possible over a lot of dead bodies, but they campaigned for it anyway. Full electrification of cars? Well, that's only possible if you accept child slave labour in Congo and, ironically, the building of coal-fired power plants in Indonesia and elsewhere to power the refineries which produce the metals that go into the batteries for the pure electric cars. These guys are not afraid to predict this climate apocalypse and also to promise this impossible energy transition, and then they're not afraid to get upset at the rest of us for noticing when the apocalypse doesn't come and their promises fail spectacularly. If turnabout is fair play, then we should also be unafraid calling them out. and also unafraid to publicly advocate for a full return to sanity. So, in that spirit, here goes. Here's what I would like to see as a full return to sanity. I believe in a future where atmospheric CO2 levels of at least 800 parts per million, which by the way is much closer to the historic average than the roughly 430 parts per million that we have now, leads directly to a massive increase in plant growth worldwide, creating a global CO2-led re-greening of the planet with deserts in retreat, forests growing faster and taller, and crop yields literally off the charts. And I believe in a future where energy is abundant, reliable, and cheap, and even the poorest humans can afford to own and to use basic time-saving and quality-of-life luxuries like washing machines and dryers and air conditioners and cars and, hey, in the future, robot house cleaners and AI-powered personal chefs. Why not? I believe in a future where energy and technology sets us free from much of the drudgery of survival and enables prosperity which is beyond our comprehension, even for those of us now who live in the West, and we are already, historically speaking, incredibly prosperous. But there's no reason the future can't be on a whole other level again. But most of all, I believe in a future where humans are free to live without the overbearing hand of government telling us how, controlling our choices, and limiting our opportunities. And make no mistake, this issue of renewables madness cuts to the very heart of human freedom, because energy is at the heart of human prosperity. Queensland is leading the way, sort of, tentatively, in some ways but not in others. And we need to celebrate the good and to call out the bad, because nothing less than our future is at stake. My name is Topher Field. This is the Topher Project, and I help busy people like you to keep up with the world as it changes around you. I am way too spicy for sponsors or advertisers, so I rely 100% on your support to help me to continue to bring you stories like this one, even if YouTube doesn't really like it when I do. So head over to goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com to grab my books or merch, or to topherfield.net to donate via the Buy Me a Coffee button. And thank you so much for your support. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, check out this recommended video, and as always, stay free.